In this video, we're going to continue learning on how to get the solution set of a system of equations using an algebraic method. In this particular video, we're going to be looking at the substitution method, which essentially has us substituting one variable with an expression that has a different variable. And that would leave us with just one variable, very much like the elimination method, but you don't have to worry about the opposite sign, same coefficients, same degrees. You just substitute one variable for an expression that has the other one. It's easier for me to show you than to tell you, so let's go ahead and get started. And substitution is one of my favorite methods because it's actually quite simple. When I'm looking at my first equation here, I have y equals 2x plus 1. So this equation is basically telling us that y is equal to the entire expression, 2x plus 1. So if we follow that logic, then when we look at the next equation and we see that there is a y, we could essentially substitute that y for the entire expression here because y is equal to 2x plus 1. So this is how that would look. We're going to grab our second equation, which is x minus y equals 7. And then what I'm going to do is instead of the y, I'm going to write down 2x plus 1. Now I'm going to use my parentheses. And the reason I do this is because especially in the beginning, when you're really new to algebra, you may make the common mistake of forgetting your negative symbol. So I want to make sure that you keep that because that is actually a negative 1 here that you're going to have to distribute immediately. So I'm going to distribute that negative 1. So it's going to give me a negative 2x minus 1. And so even though I'm working just with the second equation, I'm actually working with both because I used part of this equation to fill in the blanks and substitute for the variable y. Now I want to go ahead and combine like terms. And you want to solve for x. And so we have our first value of negative 8 for the x. Now once you have that, you can go ahead and solve for y. Now for this one, I'm going to go back to my original equation here, since I already have it set up y equals 2x plus 1. And I'm going to plug in the value that I got for x, which is a negative 8, and I get the second half of my solution set. And so this is my solution set using the substitution method. No matter what method you use, you will always get the same solution. That's important for you to remember. So if by any chance you're not really great at substitution and you want to check your work by using the elimination method, you can do that, or the graphing method. Let's look at a different example. In this case, I have both of my equations that are set up to solve for y. So I could pick either one of them. I'm going to go ahead and pick for x minus 1 to stand for my y, and I'm going to plug it into my second equation here. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute this y from my second equation with the 4x minus 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and solve for x. Now there are some cases where you want to substitute x instead of y. This is not one of those cases, but I want you to know that you have flexibility in which variable you pick. Then we get our first value here for x, and then we're going to solve for y. I'm going to go back to my original equation where I had y equals 4x minus 1, and I'm going to substitute the x for the value that I already have, which is a 2, and I'm going to solve for y.